Major class tuning, 18th of July. What's up, guys? Petko here. I just woke up, and I'll be honest, I haven't seen bigger changes since the start of PTR. A lot of things have changed. Pretty much they flipped everything upside down. So today we're gonna dive in, talk about it, and see exactly what got nerfed and buffed. Enjoy. Alright, first we begin once again with Death Knight. I know, everybody every time Death Knight, but they seem to be loving to change Death Knight every single week. This time talking about Unholy. Unholy now, to set properly increases damage of the undead by 20%. Brittle now affects undead damage. Unholy Assault now affects undead damage. Pretty much very minor tweaks done to Unholy, which will result, in my opinion, in a positive damage when playing Riders. A very tiny bit. Sandlin also got to some changes. The 2Ps grants 0.5% mastery. Stacks of Essence, it was 0.8. Ha, they're nerfing Sandlin. And the 4Ps, okay, so they're buffing the 4Ps, but they're nerfing the 2Ps. I guess it's just kind of a balance right now. I believe Sandlin was played mostly by Blood Death Knight, and Unholy already played Rider for majority of the time. I tested both, and a Rider performed better for me on Unholy. But yeah, that's about it. Okay, going to the massive stuff. Frost Death Knight. Yeah, Frost Death Knight got massively nerfed. 12% damage reduced. Okay. Breathos and the Grosso's duration is now extended 0.8 seconds when consuming Killing Machine or Rhyme effect. But the breath damage is by 20% increase. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the elephant in the room. 12%, a lot of people think is way too much. Guys, like Frost Decay was so far ahead of any other DPS on single target in Mythic Plus that this 12%, in my opinion, are nothing. They are still going to be likely the highest single target spec in Mythic Plus, even after the 12% nerf, even after the bread change. Speaking about the bread change, I think this is a good thing because it forced a degenerate gameplay, or at least gameplay that mostly rewarded people for being, how can I say it? I mean, you can be extremely good at maintaining bread, even close to like 45 seconds to a minute on a boss. So yeah, I love that. I think this is good. It's gonna make the average Frost Decay better, and the insane decay is gonna be like, I think, same old, just because Brit now is gonna do even more damage. And yeah, I don't think the 12% is large enough for us to be unplayable. I still think it's gonna be one of the strongest, if not the strongest melee, so don't panic so far if you are intending to main Frost Decay. Just be grateful you haven't seen a bigger nerf. Keep in mind that they buffed Frost Decay last week by 10%, flat, plus additional buff, so this week they pretty much took that power away from them. Moving forward, Guardian Druid. Elune's Chosen 2 set, effectiveness of style surges cast by a set is increased from 65 to 160. Good change for Guardian Druid. I don't think it's enough, but you know, step in the right direction so far. I would love to see a lot more changes to Guardian, specifically done to their damage. I feel like right now Guardian has very low damage, both single target and AoE. Durability also suffered, self-sustain suffered. Yeah, so a lot more changes has to be done to Guardian, in my opinion. Keeper of the Groove Balance Druid 4 set. It now stores 3% of the damage done, and its maximum storage has been reduced by 50%. And the 4-piece duration is now 15 seconds instead of 45 seconds. Okay, so after a nerf to the Guardian Druid, after a nerf to the Balance Druid, Keeper of the Groove 2-piece, Balance was in a very bad position. Okay, overall, I wouldn't like to call the spec dead, but the damage wise, it was, you know, definitely nerfed. I tried to play Keeper, I tried to play Elune's Chosen, different builds, and all of them were pretty poorly represented. My damage was pretty shit, to say, so they need to do a lot more stuff to balance. In my opinion, this is not enough. Feral Druid, Saber Joe's bonus of extra ferocious bite damage increased to 60 to 120, was 48. Okay, so once again, I spoke about this. I love this change. Feral needed more single target, and more single target of ferocious bite means better prior damage, even more AoE sometimes, and better single target. So this actually is a great change for Feral. I would love to see a little bit more. Perhaps something to do with them getting more. I feel like you're already getting so many procs on Banana Ferocity. I just feel like maybe some regards to that, like energy regeneration would be insane for you. But I think AoE damage is already good enough for Feral. Obviously not top tier, but decent. Flame Shaper Evoker, mostly played by Preservation, although I tried Flame Shaper on Devastation and I actually did more damage than Skill Commander, at least in Mass AoE. SS Bomb healing reduced from 500 spell power to 250. Least to say this actually should be a massive nerf to Press Evoker, Flame Shaper specifically for raid. Fixed an issue where Consuming Flame would not gain the benefit of Scorching Embers if there's less than 2 seconds of Fire Breath, good hotfix. Reverted a change of Consuming Flame that was intended to fix a timing issue with calculating Inner Flame's healing cooldown. Okay, whatever. I mean, that's good. That's good. Devastation Essence Bomb damage increased by 33%, but Inner Flame increased damage over time is 15% per stack. It was 25. Oof. Okay. Scale Commander 2Ps, Commander Squadronian from your set bonus will now be limited of casting 8 Pyres. The Pyres damage has also been increased by 25. Okay. I mean, I think expected after the deep breath hotfix last week, so this was an expected follow-up to have on Scale Commander. And Press Evoker Temper on Anomaly Absorption increased by 230%. Absorption beyond 5 targets now diminishes even more sharply. Okay, this is mostly done for like 5 men to make sure that Press Evoker is actually great in a 5-man content, and that shield becomes competitive. So I think that's a good change for the shield. Obviously, Flame Shaper a bit of an elf here for press, but it is what it is. And now, for the most important things for the day. Hunter. Have they nerfed Hunter again? The answer is yes, they did. The 3rd week in a row, Hunter have been getting nerfs. Dark Ranger Bleak Powder now correctly scales Mastery. This should be a positive change for Dark Ranger. Beast Mastery Hunter damage nerfed by 3% again. Last week they got a 3% nerf. This week they got a 3% nerf. They also nerfed the tier set very heavily last week. So again, another nerf for BM Hunter. I told you guys BM was too OP several weeks ago, and again 2 weeks later BM now is in line with the rest of the specs with a massive 3% nerf. Again from last week on top of this 3%. MM Hunter is getting a 10% flat nerf. Okay. I mean, I don't want to lie to you and say that MM is going to be fine. I mean, MM is still going to be fine. But compared to like this week, I mean, minus 10% are going to be noticeable. However, when you take this in mind that majority of the good specs were nerfed, 10% might not be that bad for you, honestly. You're still going to be likely a top dog, even though you got nerfed with 10%. You were so far ahead of a lot of specs right now, so... Once again, just like Feroz Decay, I don't think you're gonna feel it as much because you are so far ahead. So yeah, I think it's gonna be fine. I think it's gonna be fine. But we'll see. After testing, I'll let you know my results. On Sunday, we're gonna update a tier list, so... Alright, mages. They did a lot of mage tuning. Hero Talents, Frostfire Fire got nerfed. This is the 3rd nerf in a row for Frostfire Fire. The effectiveness got down. On both 2Ps and 4Ps. Frost Mage also 4Ps got nerfed. They're nerfing Frostfire again. Feels like they want to really shift you away from playing Frostfire. They don't want you to play Frostfire, seems like. Slinger Arcane Mage got nerfed. 2Ps got nerfed. Now it's going to give you 1 Arcane Harmony stack was 2. They gave you 2 stacks last week. This week they take it away, I guess. And Splinter chance to grant Arcane Harmony got reduced from 100 to 25%. However, the Arcane Splinter damage got buffed by 30%. Fair enough, I guess. This is Frost Mage 2Ps. I guess a Spell Slinger. Ice Lance chance grants Cold Front reduced by 50% was 100. Splinter chance to grant Cold Front reduced to 15% was 20. Okay, so they're taking some powers away from the tier set, it seems like on mages. Sun Fury Arcane gets a nerf. That's interesting. Nobody played Sun Fury Arcane, but I guess they nerfed it. And Fire Sun Fury also gets a nerf. Okay, so they're nerfing Fire, Frostfire, and also Sun Fury Fire. Last week, Fire also got nerfed. They're really beating down Fire Mage heavily right now. However, Arcane got a compensation buff of 3%. I think the tier set here is not as massive nerf here, but the compensation, I think you should probably bring Arcane to net neutral. Probably Arcane should now be a net neutral, just because of a flat 3% buff. Fire got a all damage increase also by 3%, but you also got Flame Strike by 30. Pyro Blast by 30. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. A lot of people don't think to understand this, but Flame Strike build is very bad for Fire Mage. If they're forcing you to play Flame Strike again, and in my opinion, you're probably gonna play right now Flame Strike after the Frostfire SKB changes to nerf, sorry. I think Fire is gonna probably be a bin spec. Just because of this. Like Flame Strike, it just makes you a bad spec. There is no prio that you can do. Sure, your ST still might be competitive, but other classes can do just better. Flame Strike is a very bad gameplay for Fire Mage, just because you don't have any priority target damage compared to Ignite Mage, in my opinion. So this is not healthy for Fire. I don't think people like it. I don't think mages like it. But again, Pyro Blast 30% buff, that's pretty healthy. Okay. Frost Mage got buffed by 10%. Wow, that's a huge buff for Frost Mage. 10% flat buff, although your Slinger Frost got nerfed a little bit, and Frostfire Frost also got nerfed a little bit. I mean, I'll take that. This is gonna bring fire. This is gonna bring Frost Mage now, maybe ahead of Fire. I gotta log in today to test it, but 10% sounds like a massive buff to Frost. Yeah, I mean, to me sounds pretty massive. Okay, let's move forward to monks. So they are reverting the changes to Mystic Touch. Unfortunately, this is a huge hit for monk in general, just because you were previously going to be so dominant just because of the 8% buff, but now it's going to be 5%. That means it's kind of an indirect nerf to the physical comp and to all melees that benefit heavily from physical damage. So think about, Outlaw Rogues, BM Hunters. Those are like the pure physical damage specs that benefit the most. Feral Druid as well. And even the hybrid specs benefit from that. Enhanced Shaman, although most of the damage for Enhanced comes from Magical. For us, the case, mostly Magical. MM Hunter, depending on which spec you're playing, Dark Ranger or Santino can also benefit a little bit from that shit. So, yeah, I mean, the pure physical damage specs will definitely take a hit. And one of the prime examples here is going to be BM Hunter. So that's even another minus 3% on BM Hunter just because of the lack of Mystic Touch right now. Ew. I am sad. Paladin Lightsmith, some bug fixes for the Paladin Lightsmith, that's good. Overall positive. The Retribution Paladin is catching a large buffs here. Templar Verdict 10%, that's your single target spender. Divine Arbiter by 25% buff. Judgment by 30% buff. Blade of Justice damage by 15%. Crusader Strike by 30. High Lord Judgment damage by 30. Wrath of Descent now deals 100% of the Empyrean Hammer instead of 125. But they're compensating this with a buff to Empyrean Hammer by 10%. Hammer of Light primary damage also increased by 5%. Okay, so overall, this looks like more single target buffs to Retribution than AoE, but it's gonna also help you AoE as well. I do think Retribution needed the buffs though. They were quite behind in the raid testing, and they primarily balance things around raid right now. And I also believe that with the most recent buffs here, Retribution is definitely going to climb a spot up, definitely. So I'm going to be testing out the buffs today once I go online, but those should be pretty healthy ones. Priest. Ooh, let's see what they did to Priest. Discipline Priest, Voice Weaver, nobody played that anyway, but they're nerfing 2-piece, they're buffing 4-piece, they're nerfing 2-piece. But nobody played Voice Weaver, most of the people playing Oracle. Shadow Priest, Voice Weaver, okay, yeah. Elephant in a Room, I told you guys the tier set of Shadow Priest. I even wrote a tweet about it. Where is the tweet? Okay, let me show you for a second. Like, I even wrote this like a few days ago. Shadow Priest, Void Tutor gets a nerf. Arcane untouched. Well, it was kind of untouched. And Ellie, I'll talk about Ellie in a bit. So yeah, 2-piece got nerfed quite heavily from 40% value to 30. That's like 25% nerf on 2-piece. And 4-piece, wow. 4-piece got actually fucking nuked. Look at this. Void Torrent damage increased by 60% from 200%. And causes Void Blast to increase Entrophic Rift damage from 10 to 20. Just for a reference, Void Blast or Mind Blast is your top damage most of the time in Mythic Plus, just because of the Psychic Link. That's your primary damage. The second damage source is gonna be your Entrophic Rift, so they're nerfing that a little bit as well. And the third source of damage is gonna be the Void Torrent. So they're nerfing Shadow by quite a bit. I think this nerf might be a double-digit nerf. I gotta check. I gotta speak to public, but this might be like around 10 to 12% nerf. Again, napkin math here. I need to check and let you know, but this actually sounds pretty huge for Shadow Priest Void Weaver nerfs. There are no compensation buffs so far. Yeah, there's nothing. There's nothing. That's pretty heavily nerfed Shadow Priest. Assassination Rogue, another buff for a Rogue. Crimson Tempest damage reduced by 8%, by 9%, but Envenom 4% buff, Garrot buff, Rupture, Ambush, Mutilate buff, and melee auto attack. Okay, so they're taking some AoE away from Asa, but they're adding a lot of single target / prior damage. I think that's overall a good trade-off. Asa AoE was already insane. So they're taking a bit of AoE out and giving more single target. That should be a W for you. Honestly, that's exactly what you needed. A little bit more ST. I don't think that's gonna help you, but it's a step in the right direction, definitely. I love that. Outlaw Rogue damage buff by 10%, but Blade Flurry now does 45% of the single target. So actually, this is the biggest bait people will catch. Like every time people come on stream, they're like, oh, they nerf my Blade Flurry by 5%, but I get 10% left flat buff. No, they nerf your Blade Flurry by 10%, and they give you 10% more damage, which pretty much means that you're gonna do more single target, and the AoE is gonna stay the same. Because when the value goes from 50% to 45%, that is a 10% nerf to 50%, right? So if 50% is like 100%, minus 5% overall value is going to be 10% nerf to Blade Flurry. Anyway, napkin math too early for that shit, but TLDR, Blade Flurry got nerfed by 10%, damage well buff by 10, which means net neutral change for AoE, but better single target because Blade Flurry don't matter on single target. Overall, W change for Outlaw. Outlaw needed more ST, exactly what they needed, and that's exactly how they're getting buffed. That's thumbs up, maybe climbing a tier. Sub Rogue is gonna get Black Powder buffed by 11%, that's good. And Nimble Fury now is gonna do even more damage. I'd love to try Trickster Sub Rogue right now and see exactly what's up with that shit. Stormbringer Shaman. Shaman got nerfed. The Tempest now does 50% of the primary target damage on instead of 65. That is a enhanced Shaman nerf on Tempest, which is gonna mostly impact your AoE damage. I mean, a little bit AoE enhanced here, but I still believe enhanced is gonna be fine. Okay, I still think enhanced is quite strong, even after the nerfs. So don't worry about it. Warlock. Diabolist changes for Warlock. Keep in mind that Soul Harvester played by Demonology, Affliction played mostly Soul Harvester, even Hellcaller was fine, and Hellcaller was also played by Destrolock. So they're buffing Diabolist. I don't know if people are gonna try Diabolist now, maybe Destro Diabolist, but Reignition damage increased by 50%, Fail Seeker damage by 50, Chaos Salvo by 50. Yeah, it's actually a massive nerf to Diabolist. Wow. Okay. I mean, we're gonna try later Diabolist, Demonology Lock, and also Destro. See what's up. Hellcaller Affliction also got buff 15%, Black and Soul by 30, Zalan Ferocity by 6% here, and Cruelty by 6%, Fire and Shadow. Okay. Hellcaller is cooking or what? Destruction also buffed as a Hellcaller. Wither more damage, Black Soul more damage. Wow. Okay, so let's speak about this one. I don't think Black and Soul needed more buffs, because Black and Soul is already like 1/3 of my damage on destruction. So if you buff it again by 20%, it's gonna be even like it's gonna be twice as big compared to Rain of Fire, which pretty much makes destruction a dot spec instead of like a Rain of Fire simulation. I don't know about that one. Soul Harvester Affliction got also heavily buffed. I loved Soul Harvester Affliction, by the way. So this is a massive buff for Affliction, Destro, and Demolog. Demolog gets some bugs fixes, not really changes, but if you're playing Diabolist Demolog, that got buffed, but I don't know if that's going to be better than your Soul Harvester build, maybe. At least Affliction and Destro getting quite big buffs. And last but not least, we're getting Warrior changes. Arms Warrior, Blade Storm increased by 15%. Fury, Blade Storm increased by 15%. And also Whirlwind damage by 10%. Okay, so I am not sure if Whirlwind means my Clap is also gets to be increased by 10%, because technically Clap replaces Whirlwind. So I need to check exactly if that's the case, because if that is the case, that's going to be even more degenerate, because your Thunder Blast, when you're playing Mountain Tane, accounted for a lot of your damage. So I don't know if that actually is going to impact Thunderclap or Thunder Blast, the Whirlwind. Improved Whirlwind causes your single target attacks to deal 65% of damage up to 4 nearby targets instead of 55. Again, For nearby targets, target cap anyway, whatever, doesn't really matter, but that should be a pretty healthy buff to the AoE damage on 5 targets. However, same question remains, does this impact only Whirlwind or also Thunderclap and Thunderblast? I don't know. Because if they impact Thunderblast or Thunderclap, that's gonna make Fury a lot better, you know. Anyway, that's everything, chat, for today. Those were some massive changes. I will be going online and testing all of the stuff in 2 hours from now, give or take. But a lot of people are dooming about stuff. Guys, don't worry. There's still gonna be at least 3 more weeks of tuning. Although I expected them, the further we progress closer to the season, the least I expect to see bigger changes anyway. So those so far were AW changes. A lot of good OP specs got nerfed, and a few specs that were underperforming got buffed too. Overall, we're going to be testing it and see exactly how things are going to change for Sunday tier list. But anyway, see you guys tomorrow, or I guess later today, and I'll catch you around. Bye for now.